Good morning. I want you to look for one moment at the person sitting right next to you and tell them two words. Two words. What does good service mean to you? Tell them what good service means to you in 2 words. Simple. Please do that. 10 seconds. Let's see who does first. What words did you hear? Can I hear some words that you heard? Please shout out a few words that you heard. Accountability, wonderful. Efficient, fast. Transparency, amazing. Great. Give yourself a big round of applause for that. Right now, this very moment, when we are all here at this conference, yesterday, today, tomorrow, somewhere in the Maldives, right now, a citizen, this moment, could be stepping into an office. It could be anybody. It could be a business owner who's looking for an approval for his new venture. It could be a mother who's looking for a birth certificate copy for their child. It could be a young man who wants to start off something and needs a document. We don't know those faces, but we do know one thing, that when they go to the counter, when they go to the office, they don't meet a person, they don't meet a department, they don't meet a function, they meet a nation. When a citizen meets you, what do they see? How do they feel? And what experience, what memory do they take back? Good morning once again. My name is Vinay, and it is such an honor to be here with you, opening the day 2 of this absolutely wonderful conference. My entire career, I have spent exploring, studying one question across business houses, across corporate boardrooms. One question: what happens in that moment when an organization comes face to face with a human being? And that question is most relevant here in this room today, because the nation, the trust, when in a business something goes wrong, the company loses a customer. That's what happens. But when something goes wrong in our work, it is a small bit of trust that a citizen loses in the nation. And that is why that question hangs heavy right here in this room. That when they meet us, what do they see? How do they feel? And what memory, what experience do they take back from that moment? I know this reality really well. I've seen that very close, because I know the work that you do, because I've seen my father invest and give his entire career to civil service. 44 years he worked as a civil servant in the Indian government, and he taught me one thing. And that's the one thing that inspired me to, when I was designing this keynote, that what is the citizen taking back? What is the citizen feeling when that one decision is taken at each table, at each moment in our work. And the reality is that every day when we come to work, every file that we go through, every piece of paper that goes through our hands, that we spend studying, that has an impact on somebody's life. But this is not a profession that is recognized, appreciated, or even seen when the work is done well. The system often takes the credit, but it is the people who deliver the work. It's you in this room who deliver that work. That is the difference that is made here in this room. It is the least seen, least acknowledged, but most needed profession in any country in this world. And that's happening right here. Give yourself a big round of applause for the decision that you make every day that impacts the life of people of the country, that impacts the life of citizens across the country. And because for every citizen who approaches you, they don't meet a government. The government is a notion. The government is an idea. Anybody ever here shook hands with the government? I haven't. We don't shake hands with the government. We shake hands with a person. And for us in that moment, the civil service official, the civil servant becomes the nation for us, becomes the government for us. Because the experience, what we feel at that particular moment, when we go back, we say, wow, this works, nice. I had a great experience. We have great systems in this country. We may not name the person, but we say that, wow, I had a great experience here. And how does that happen? How do we make that happen? Because each moment that the person interacts with us, for that person in that moment, you are the nation. And that leads me to a very important question, that how do we see the situation? How do we see the citizen who is in our office? Now, there are three lenses, and that's what I want to focus on in the keynote today. The three lenses in the civil services. What are those three lenses, and how do they impact us, and how do they impact the citizens that we serve every single day? And I want to start off with the rule book lens. Now, this is a very interesting lens because rules are important, aren't they? Are they important? What do you think? How many of you think that, yes, rules are important? Give me a single hand wave. Yes, rules are important. Yes, rules are definitely important. Why are they important? Because rules bring a very important word into governance: fairness. Rules ensure that a minister's cousin and a fisherman's son fill up the same form. Rules make sure that every person is treated fairly. So rules are important. Without rules, every governance fails, collapses. But the rule book lens, looking at every citizen, looking at every decision that you take from only the rule book lens, it has two failure modes with it, two situations where it goes wrong. Over a period of time, a rule book lens becomes a comfortable, safe hiding place. The policy says so. As per protocol, this is what the protocol says. This is what the rule says. It becomes a comfortable, safe hiding place. It becomes a place to justify a decision. And I will tell you a small incident that happened at an airport recently. So I was standing there in the queue, and a lady who was late, she came, she had a small child with her. She came running to the check-in counter and said, can you please check me in? So this is exactly what happened. The person at the counter, the clock there. Sorry, ma'am, check-in counter closes at 10 o'clock. She said, it's just 10:02, it's just 2 minutes. Sorry, ma'am, check-in counter closes at 10 o'clock. The child was crying. She was trying to take care of the child. She said, can I please talk to somebody? Can you please? Sorry, ma'am, check-in counter closes at 10 o'clock. 3 times. She was frustrated. She was upset. Again, the person looked back at the clock, showed that, ma'am, it's written in the ticket also, check-in counter closes at 10 o'clock. What happened in that one moment? It was so easy. Yes, he was right. Was he technically correct? Yes, he was technically correct. He was technically correct, but he was humanly cold. Yes, the rule book is important, rules are important, but when we look at a decision only through the rule book, that is where the failure modes start getting activated. And we have another failure mode also. And the story doesn't end here. I will tell you what happened in this small incident in the next lens. So the second failure mode with the rule book lens is that sometimes the rules start meaning different things to different people. One set of rules for one people, one set of rules for the other people. How does that feel? Does that feel fair? Can it be fair that the same rule is different for one person and different for another person? Does that feel fair? No, it doesn't. And when that happens, the rule book that was built for the exact same purpose to ensure fairness does the exact opposite of that, which is to kill the fairness in that moment. And these two failure modes are what brings us to the point where we see the rule book lens and say, yes, I need that rule book lens. I do need that. But I need something more. What is that something more? With that, I come to the second lens, which is the job lens, the role lens. Now, let's go back to the airport. The lady said, hey, can you please help me? Who can help me? Is there a manager that I can talk to? This gentleman. Please go to that counter. Next. Which counter? That counter. Now, there are close to 15 counters there. And next passenger, please. Now, the lady rushed to there, and after asking a few people, she found out the manager's counter, which was about 10 counters away, and she reached the manager and said, sir, I am late by 5 minutes. Can you please allow check-in for me? The manager looked at her, looked at the ticket, and said, okay, do one thing. That queue there is the business class queue. I will just tell that person, you please go, and he will take care of it. Now she looked, where is that counter? That counter is there. Then she rushed to that business class counter there. And I was standing there, looking at the situation panning out. She went to that counter with the child in tow, and sir, my ticket is delayed. The manager asked me that you will help me check in right now. But yours is an economy ticket. So this is not the economy counter, you should go to the first counter and say that the manager has actually approved it. This is something that we see so often, right? We have seen this so often. We call it the not my job syndrome. This is not somebody else. Can you please talk to that person? Can you please contact that counter? Can you please go there? Yes, it's a job lens. Now, is the job lens wrong? Absolutely not. The job lens is needed. Why do we need the job lens? Because a clear description of what our job is meant to do brings accountability in our work. It brings clarity on who is supposed to do what, whose responsibility is what. Accountability is brought in by the job lens. So is the job lens needed? Yes, it is needed. Is the job lens enough? No. That's where the conversation begins. The job lens is not enough, because what is the failure mode with the job lens? The job lens also has a failure mode. Most of the time, a citizen's concern, a citizen's problem is not restricted or solvable or does not exist under the job criteria of only one person. There might be 3 departments involved. A particular form is issued by Department 1, but in that form, you need to pay a fee and attach a challan to that, a document to that. That is handled by another department. When you go to that department, it needs your proof of identity and proof of business. Now that is handled by somebody else. Those 3 departments together create the reality for the citizen in that particular moment. If you look at that, that's the first lens, which is the rule book lens, where the rules are the focus. The second one is the job lens that we are talking about right now, where it all depends on the person. I am the one who's doing it, and this is not in my purview. But for the citizen's work to be done, he needs 3 departments to function together. And you know where his trust breaks? His trust does not break in one of the 3 departments. No, because all 3 are doing their job. His trust is broken between the gaps of handoff. One function passes it on to the next function. And in between that standoff, in between that passing of the file, the experience goes down, the trust develops a crack, breaks a little bit. Because when the customer goes back, the citizen goes back, the person goes back, the human being walks back, it's all the same thing. They don't say that, you know what, everything was fine, just that one counter was a problem, one function was a problem. No. They go back, showing their back to the system, and say, the system doesn't work. That's what the citizen feels when we see only through the job lens. Which brings me to the third lens. And this is the lens that my keynote today is all about. The citizen first lens. Now, what does this lens do? And before I even explain this lens, I want to say one thing right up front. This lens does not replace the rule book lens or the job lens. No. It empowers both those lenses. It makes sure that the work that we do does not get stuck in the first 2 lenses. It makes sure that the person who gets affected by our work is at the top of our mind when we are applying rules and we are looking at the job description and the responsibility. The person whose life is affected is there at the top of our mind when we apply the lens. And this is the citizen first lens. The citizen first lens where we look at how is this going to affect the person? What does this person need? And what can I do that can solve the problem, address the need of this individual. This takes me back to the year 2006, 20 years back. The year when I first stepped foot in the city of Chennai, where I live. I come from Chennai in India. And that was the first time I was stepping into Chennai. I did not know a word of Tamil, and I did not know anybody there. I was there because a job brought me there. And I didn't have friends there, I didn't have anybody there. And to get a cooking gas connection, an LPG connection, you needed something called as a residential certificate. Now, a residential certificate is something I had not heard in my life before. So my neighbor told me that you have to go to the local government office and apply for that one. They will give you a residential certificate. I asked him, how does that certificate look like? He said, I don't know how it looks like, but I know it exists. So there I was in the morning, showered, ready. I took a cab, went there to the office, and there I asked in a little bit of broken Tamil, sign language, everything that, residential certificate, how do I get it? So somebody pointed me to that counter. The gentleman there in that counter will help you get that certificate. I said, okay, great. So I went there, I stood in the queue there, and one person said that you have to fill a form, and the form is available at that counter. You go get that form, you fill it up, you attach your ID proof and things like that, and your rental agreement and all that, and then you submit it and things will happen. I said, okay. I went and took the form. Half of that form was in Tamil. I didn't know a word of what was written there. And I was standing with that form and looking as perplexed, as confused, as out of place that a human being can ever look in a queue. And as my turn approached, and something happened. So the person at the counter looked up at me and smiled at me. No, not a knowing smile or a smile that says, poor guy, you don't know what you're doing here, right? That's just what the smile said. Said, okay. So I said, sir, this form, fill. He said, I can understand English. You can tell me properly. So he said, okay, I need to fill this form. And he said, just do one thing. Wait here 5 minutes, okay? Let me just finish with these 3 people. I waited there 5 minutes. He finished with those 3 people. And then he came out and said, took a chair, sat there on a table, and said, 1, 2, 3, this is where you have to fill. Leave out these columns. There were 2 columns which he filled for me. He asked me, and he just quickly scribbled that for me. He filled that up, and he said, do you have a copy of your PAN card and your things? And I gave all that, and he attached that, and he said, you see that gentleman with a big beard? Yeah. You have to go and give it to him and ask him to stamp it and come tomorrow and collect your residential certificate. My reply, is that all? That's it? Done? He said, yes, sir, that's it. Done. I said, oh my God, thank you so much. And I walked out of that. And the next day I went there and I got my residential certificate. It's been 20 years to this incident. 20 years. And this is in these 20 years, this is the first keynote where I'm speaking about this incident. Now, the funny thing, the biggest asymmetry, the most interesting thing in this, that person would have remembered me for maybe 2 days. He would have gone home and told his family, there was this guy who was out there looking completely clueless, and, I did this, and he would have forgotten about it. That's what all of us do as well. He would have remembered me for 2 days. I remember him even after 20 years. That is the impact we are creating. The citizens we serve, We don't remember their faces beyond a few days. We don't remember what we are doing for them or what happens in their life or even them, their names. We don't remember them. But they remember the good, the bad, the not so good, the not so bad. They remember everything. And they go and talk about it to their friends. Hey, you know what? This is the experience I had. This is how I felt. And that's a question that I want to leave this here in this room today. And I also want to say that now I've talked about the citizen first lens. What is the citizen first lens? That person at that counter in Chennai, he did not look at me through the rule book lens, because as per rules, he doesn't have to fill up the form for me. It's not even his job description. But then he saw me, the person. He looked at me with the citizen first lens. He said, what is this person's problem? This person's problem is that he's new, he has no clue, and he needs help. What can I do by spending those extra 5 minutes? Max, he was there with me for 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes, that's all. Then after that, he went back to his work, continued doing his work. 5 minutes is all that he invested. But in those 5 minutes, he created a memory that's lasted 20 years. That is the power of the citizen first lens. Now, how do we apply? I'm going to share with you 5 small ways, a small toolkit. I call it the citizen first toolkit. And these are 5 simple ways that we can apply today that we can use any moment. The first toolkit is that what we hear from the citizen is the request. What we don't often know or see is what does he actually need. He might ask you that which is the counter that I should approach. But his need is, I want this form to be submitted today because I want a clearance for my business. I'm buying a building. The interest due will be starting from tomorrow. I need this document today. That's the need. But he will not come and say that. He will only say his request. Take that moment to ask the question behind the request. What is it that you actually need, sir? How can I help you? That's the question that changes everything. That's that one question. The second tool in the toolkit. $10. Sorry, check-in counter closes at 10 o'clock. Sorry. Is a verdict. Don't just give the verdict. Sorry, you've not filled the form right. Please come again. That's a verdict. Do not give just a verdict. Also give the citizen the next step. It's 10 o'clock, we're behind check-in counter, but if the manager approves, I can check you in. Can you just quickly go and get his sign on this paper? That's the next step. That's something that the person can understand. I can understand, you can understand, that lady would have understood. Give the next step to the person. People love next steps. People don't know what to do with verdicts. Verdicts bring a person's heart down. They break hearts. They make the person feel small and unseen, unimportant. And trust me, feeling unimportant is a very hard thing to take. So give the next step. Don't give a no without giving the next step. Sorry, I can't help you with this, but why don't you do this? That's something that people can understand. That's something that people can do. Third, this takes care of the failure mode of the job lens. Do not just talk about your counter. Think about the journey of the citizen, of the customer, of the person. That person out there at that counter, tell them, so for this to happen, you will need A from counter 1, B from counter 2, and C from counter 3, and these are the 3 people sitting there. But the counter 3 person is on leave today, so you might want to talk to his manager. That's owning the entire journey. And if you ever bump into that person again, asking, hey, you were there at the office for that yesterday. Did it happen? Did it get done? The power of that one single question is unimaginable. The power of that simple single question to make that, hey, I am being seen, I am being acknowledged, I am being respected. I am someone. I am a person. That is an amazing feeling. So own the journey. Take ownership of the journey in any small way that you can. Any single small way that you can. Take ownership of the entire journey of the citizen for that particular problem. The fourth toolkit. Don't just look at the paperwork. Read the person. Read the person. Is there something that this person needs which he's not able to get? Is there some way that I can help? Hey, you know what? This may not be the right time to apply for this. Why don't you come back maybe 2 weeks from now, the counter? Share something that can help the person. Is that person anxious? Is the person new? Is the person worried? Read the person. 20 seconds, 15 seconds, 10 seconds that you invest to look at a person's face. Read a person goes a long way in building trust. And the last toolkit. Can we, in our work, in our job, can we say yes to everything that comes to our desk? Is it practically possible? No? No, it's not. Some things we can do, some things we cannot do. But what can we do every single time is let that person leave with their dignity intact. Do not make a no sound like a door shut in the face. That last one is so important. It makes the entire feeling, the entire experience, the entire life feel different. Because, hey, that person treated me with dignity. Nobody will thank you for this, by the way. Nobody will ever tell you that you treated me with dignity, you respected me. Nobody will tell you. Nobody will tell us. That's not going to happen. But every time you do that, even when you're saying a no, the no doesn't feel like disrespect or loss of dignity. The no feels, okay, maybe it really is not possible. So, every time a no does not have to break trust, a no can still protect trust, a no can still be done, a no can still be said, and we can still preserve the trust that the people have in us. And I come back to the same question that we started today with. When a citizen meets you, what do they see? What do they experience? How do they feel? And what memory do they take back? And at this particular point, as we look at those three lenses, when we use those three lenses together, the citizen goes back feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling respected, feeling acknowledged. And always remember this one thing, that they don't come and meet a person, they don't come and meet a department, a department is not what they take back. For them, in that one moment, they arrive at that one decision that they carry for long after that. How important was I? So what I want to leave you here with is that someone is about to, when that person steps into a government office today, tomorrow, this week, it could be that young man looking for the document. It could be that business owner. It could be that lady who's looking for a certificate for the son. It could be anybody out there who's looking for a work to get done. They are about to meet the nation when they step into that room, when they approach your counter. And ladies and gentlemen, for that one person, you are the nation. Thank you.